people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
The undisputed super featherweight champion of the world, Alicia, the Bumgarner.
That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A not-so-expected revelation ahead of this weekend's WBO welterweight title fight involving Sandy Ryan and Canada's own Marie-Pierre Houle. McCaskill versus Ryan for Undisputed. Eddie Hearn has revealed that Jessica has signed to fight Sandy Ryan for the Undisputed welterweight titles. Ryan fights Marie-Pierre Houle for the WBO this Saturday, while McCaskill fights Ivana Habazin in June.
Now, for Eddie to say that the fight between Sandy and Jessica is already signed is just a figure of speech, because according to Rick Ramos, Jessica's longtime handler, the fight's not done yet. They haven't signed on. The fight itself is contingent upon both fighters winning their next fights to presumably take place sometime in the fall.
It's not actually done and it hasn't been made yet. That's just a figure of speech. The fight between them is contingent upon them winning their upcoming bouts. Sandy's going to be fighting this weekend and Jessica will return to action sometime in June.
And I favor them both to win their upcoming fights. This weekend, Sandy Ryan will be taking on Canada's own unbeaten Marie-Pierre Houle, who's a scrapper, a brawler, and a hard puncher.
But for those of you that have been following this channel long enough, you'll have already heard me say that. In fact, I did say just that a month ago.
I told you, Ryan versus Houle will be a segue to the winner of McCaskill versus Habazin. That's what I thought the plan was, and it seems that time has proven me right.
Because that's what the plan is. And I'll leave the link to that video in the description box.
More detailed look at Marie-Pierre Houle and what she looks like in action. In a nutshell, Marie's a mid-range to inside fighter, a brawler in many ways.
Whereas Sandy can brawl like Marie-Pierre Houle can brawl, and for what it's worth, I think Sandy's got heavier hands than Marie, but Sandy's not limited to brawling mid-range to inside. She can beat those feet, she can box, stick and move, and stay behind straight punches, picking her opponent off, long distance, long range. You have to remember that Sandy Ryan is a tall drink of water as far as welterweights.
As far as super lightweights and welterweights go, she's tall for those weights.
Long for those weights. I feel like Sandy Ryan is a more polished boxer than Marie-Pierre Houle and a sharper puncher. So I do have Sandy winning this weekend's WBO title fight by way of a points decision conservatively. I don't rule out a knockout.
But if anybody's going to knock anybody out, it'll be Sandy knocking out Marie-Pierre Houle.
The conservative choice is Sandy Ryan on points, beating those feet, sticking that jab out there, and picking off Marie-Pierre Houle whilst creating space, not giving her what she wants. Marie-Pierre Houle wants to brawl.
You've got to do the opposite. You don't sell out and give her what she wants.
You do the opposite, as the old saying goes. Box the fighter and fight the boxer.
She might need to employ a similar strategy if she is so confronted with Jessica McCaskill. Jessica, who I'm picking to overwhelm Ivana Habazin. I've never been impressed with Ivana.
And I'm not convinced here and now that she can weather the storm from Jessica McCaskill. It's often said that Jessica is little more than just a brawler, just a bruiser, but she's had a lot of success staying in character. For the most part, she has.
She's a pressure fighter. And you know what I always say about pressure fighters? They stay in character. They don't change much in between fights.
It's in many ways a gift and a curse that pressure fighters stay in character the way that they do. That if the fighter is not physically prepared to weather that storm, they're gonna get run over. Though if they are
prepared for that pressure fighter, it's not like pressure fighters make in-fight adjustments.
Or even adjustments fight by fight. Pressure fighters stay in character.
In light of this, it reminds me of Sandy Ryan's loss to Erica Farias in their first fight, and how that loss really is a blessing in disguise. A blessing that has made Sandy Ryan a more educated fighter, a better fighter, that you don't just go in there relying on one punch to do the broad. Not all of these broads are going to go down as soon as you touch them.
Sandy found out in that fight that there's some girls, they can take her best shots. They can take what she's got, and she may have to employ a different strategy fight by fight. She elected to box Erica Farias in the second fight and got herself back in the winner's bracket, avenging that initial loss. I think she's going to employ that strategy this weekend, and I think she's going to employ that strategy with Jessica, because what Jessica wants is to draw you into a war.
She's gonna come forward, throwing punches and bunches, wide looping shots, and you don't want to be there when she does. You have to create space.
Sandy Ryan being taller than Jessica, longer and younger.
Fresher.
Creating space and shooting straight punches from the outside. That's the order of the day. If she is so confronted with Jessica, though, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
But now Sandy's got to beat Maria Pierre Houle. I think she's going to. On the undercard of Cordina versus Rakimov for the IBF title.
Similar dichotomy, similar dynamic. The strategy.
Don't just sell out giving Marie what she wants. Box her.
Use your feet, use the ring, keep her at arm's length.
Step into your punches when you have to assert yourself, to simmer her down.
You have to, but don't make yourself a stationary target. Don't make her job easier than it needs to be. Make things difficult.
Move around.
I like Sandy to win this weekend. I like her to become the welterweight division's newly crowned WBO champion.
Men's heavyweight news. I'm sure most of you have heard by now that Malik Deontay Wilder's trainer, has confirmed there is a heavyweight tournament underway by way of Saudi Arabia. The Saudis have an interest in staging what is a four-man tournament between Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and Alexander Usyk. This rumor first surfaced. The first we heard of this was by way of Simon Jordan.
Simon Jordan claimed that he had heard mutterings on the Middle East making moves to stage a four-man tournament that would see an undisputed heavyweight champion crowned. The two initial fights were reportedly to be Wilder versus Joshua and Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. Logistically speaking, there's a whole lot of issues to solve for fights that have pretty much all struggled in negotiations in the past. Having said that, the speculation was met with some excitement. Scotch, who has trained Wilder since his 2021 loss to Tyson Fury, has been keen to score a big fight for his man. He told IFL TV that the rumors are true.
He's not the only one who's confirming this. Eddie Hearn is confirming this as well.
For AJ, one thing's for sure, his big fight, and it will come in the Middle East, will be in December. And that will be Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. That's what we're planning. I will be going out next week to meet people to discuss AJ's fight in December. There is definitely conversations that have taken place of plans where people would like to host Fury against Usyk and AJ against Wilder on the same night. It's going to cost a lot of money, but would be epic. And we will have those conversations.
It's what Eddie Hearn had to say about it. Malik Scotch. Malik was quoted as saying, "I'm on the side of the meetings. Deontay has me sitting right next to him in these meetings. What I can say is the things that people are hearing are not fibs, and that negotiations have begun, not with certain fighters, but negotiations are intact. Those fights people are mentioning, those headlines and those big cards, those ultimate fights, that type of boxing is about to be back on the menu. The negotiations are true. Everything is getting together. We're going to see what happens and what fighters really want to fight."
So the rumors are true.
The Saudis are planning what could arguably be, if they get it over the line, one of the biggest cards the sport of boxing has ever seen.
You may have heard people saying that this weekend's fight between Gervonta and Ryan is the fight of the year. Well, if they were to do this show and get it over the line, this would make that fight look like a paltry offering.
This would make Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia look like an undercard fight.
If the Saudis are successful.
Malik Scotch continued, "The negotiations are true. Everything is getting together. We're going to see what happens and what fighters really want to fight that's at that level, and the ones that do, Deontay Wilder's going to knock out and become a two-time heavyweight champion of the world." I can say that those rumors are true. Negotiations are going on, and big fights are going to be happening in Saudi Arabia.
Now you have to consider that Deontay Wilder has only boxed for all of one round in the last 12 months.
You have to consider that, and you have to consider that they may be in negotiations for a fight that might go down in the summer before this proposed December show.
The question is, who against? Will it be against Andy Ruiz?
That's assuming that Deontay Wilder returns in the summer months. If he does, who does he fight?
Andy Ruiz's name was initially attached to a Wilder fight. WBC went as far as ordering it, but they didn't seem to give those boys a deadline.
For those who might have forgotten, that fight was ordered all the way back there in November of last year. We're towards the end of April now. this year.
It's roughly 5 or 6 months.
If you can believe that, it's been that long. And no deal has been met, no deal has been reached.
It doesn't really favor Wilder to go into a big show like that proposed December show, having only boxed for all of 1 round in the last 12 months. The night of, it will have been 1 round in the last 2 years.
If he doesn't fight between now and December.
I'll wrap in the July situation now. Our focus is to get that mega fight in December over the line. There is no official decision in terms of whether AJ would fight in July. Some of that may come around the deal or the decision or the completion of that fight in December. I would quite like to see him fight. I think he would like to fight, in July. But right now, he's not in camp for a July fight. We're focusing on getting the December fight over the line, which is a fight of huge proportion.
You have to figure that if they're in the process of orchestrating a summer return for Fury and a summer return for Usyk,
If Fury fights Ruiz and beats him, and Usyk fights Daniel Dubois and beats him, that sets the stage for those 2 guys to meet later on this year.
leaving Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder to deal with each other. Deontay Wilder, whose coach says, we want the Joshua fight. The ball is in Joshua's court.
It's not set in stone that Wilder's fighting this summer. Doesn't seem to be set in stone that Anthony is either.
Malik Scotch said, I'm very, very big on Deontay fighting Anthony Joshua. I believe that it's good, not just for boxing, it's good for so many reasons. It's a treat to society. I believe that Deontay fighting Anthony Joshua is that type of fight that motivates not just a little kid in the inner city that's trying to make it to the top to provide for their family, but also the businessman. Scotch told IFL TV, it's good for mankind.
Dial it down a notch, Carl Sagan.
Does this guy think he's Stephen Hawking or something? It's good for all mankind? It would be a tragedy if this fight doesn't happen. That's the fight I'm polling for every time someone asks me what's next for Deontay. We'll see. Deontay wants to fight. I want to fight. The whole side here wants to fight. We want to see what AJ does now. The ball is in his court. There is no indication on when Joshua will fight again. He was due to return in the summer months. That scenario seems to be off, as Joshua recently took to social media to reveal that his next fight will not happen until the month of December. My next fight is scheduled for December. Not ideal, but everything is part of a bigger picture, Joshua wrote on Instagram.
It's Instagram, you fucking idiot.
Joshua sits out the entire summer. It's got to be on the premise that they don't want to jeopardize the December fight, though I actually think he should fight over the summer months to get more time in with Derek James in his corner and to sharpen up a bit.
I don't imagine those guys just started gelling after just 1 camp.
But if he doesn't return in the summer months, that would be the why. That would be the reason. They don't want to jeopardize illness or injury, unforeseen circumstances that might jeopardize the December showdown with either Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder.
Tyson Fury says it's all bullshit.
Not that I think many people are going to believe him. Tyson Fury took to his social media, his Instagram stories, and stated quite plainly, I can confirm that these rumors are absolute bullshit.
But you have both the Wilder side of things and the Joshua side of things saying the opposite, that these rumors are true. The Saudis are planning this.
Alexander Krasiuk, who handles the career of Alexander Usyk, reacted to Tyson Fury's Instagram story.
Tyson Fury denying that Saudi Arabia reps want to stage the Alexander Usyk fight on the same night as Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder.
Krasiuk said, put simply, he being Tyson Fury, he's shitting his pants again. Alexander Usyk himself released a video after a sparring session, and he definitely seems happy about something. Could it be that he stands to make a fuck ton of money in Saudi Arabia later on this year, provided he beats Daniel? And most people think he can. Most people think he will.
He's happy about something.
Eddie Hearn puts the approximate value of this show at approximately $400 million. $400 million to get it over the line.
That's just in fighter purses.
That's why I'm not getting excited that these rumors turned out to be true, because even if they are true, they are just rumors.
That the Saudis are trying to get this kind of show over the line, this kind of ambitious card, it doesn't really surprise me. What would surprise me is if they succeed. An approximate $400 million in guaranteed purses to the fighters. For a perspective, if you sold 1 million pay-per-view buys with this card, at the current price point, the average price point for a pay-per-view $80.
At a price point of $80 a pop, multiplied by, say, 1 million pay-per-view buys. Let's use that as a benchmark.
All right.
It's possible you could sell 1 million pay-per-view buys with a show like this. It's possible you could sell more than that, though. At $80 multiplied by 1 million pay-per-view buys, that'll get you roughly $80 million.
If you sold 1 million pay-per-view buys with this thing and it generated 80 million, you'd still be in the hole another $320 million. Raw numbers.
So where else are you going to get the money? The only other big boxing market in the sport of boxing these days is the UK market, at least for a show like this.
In order to generate the other $320 million to cover the operational costs in the fighters' purses. In the UK, at a going price point of roughly $30 American.
Just call it $30 American, because their pay-per-views do cost substantially less than ours do.
Do you want to know how many pay-per-views you'd have to sell in the UK to come up with the other $320 million?
At a price point of roughly $30, you would have to sell approximately 10 million pay-per-views. 10 million.
10 fucking million, okay?
There are roughly 67 million people in the United Kingdom. 67 million. You would need 10 million of that 67 to buy this pay-per-view in order to come up with the other $320 million?
You would need approximately 14% of the entire United Kingdom to purchase this pay-per-view in order to cover the cost between America and the UK.
It's a big fucking number, in case you haven't realized. That's a very big fucking number. It's a bit of a logistics nightmare to try and do a show like this.
Ambitious, yes.
And if anybody has the money to do it, the Saudis have the money to do it. But doing it as one show, one card.
Tack on the separate teams and their promotional and platform affiliates.
There's a lot of fingers in that pie. By way of Tyson Fury, who's supposed to be involved, you'd have Queensberry in the UK and Top Rank in the US. With Anthony Joshua, you're talking about the Zone.
With Wilder, who knows who's still involved and who isn't involved in Wilder's career these days.
Now for a bit of nuance. If they were trying to do these two fights on the same card, I don't think the price point for the pay-per-view would be a conventional $75 to $80. No, I anticipate that they'd want something more like, I don't know, 100, 125, maybe even as high as 150.
$400 million in fighter purses? The money's gotta come from somewhere.
I anticipate that there would be a price hike for the pay-per-view, a price hike to the price point in the UK and the United States, the two preeminent boxing markets you try to sell this fight to.
And there are other markets you could try to sell this fight in. You know, the Canadian market, other parts of Europe, but primarily you're hoping to make the bulk of the cash between the Brits and the Americans.
Situation like that, it would be easier to stage both of those fights, Wilder versus Joshua and Fury versus Usyk, as separate pay-per-views.
Instead of one standalone event, one standalone card that features all four guys.
I mean, if anybody has the resources to do a show like this, the Saudis have it. They do.
But even for them, it would be a stretch.
Even though these rumors have turned out to be true, they are still just rumors.
Don't know yet if this is going to happen.